Hello there and welcome to Business Nigeria. I am Tolu Ogunjobi. Now, the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation said sustained strategic intervention in the efficient supply and distribution of petroleum products has led to significant fall in the prices of petrol and liquefied petroleum gas nationwide. Spokesman of the corporation, Tolu Ogunjobi, said a national survey by Oil and Gas Forum indicates that the price of petrol has fallen steadily from 145 naira per litre to between 142 naira and 143 naira per litre in some stations across the country. He said the study showed that NNPC, mega and affiliate stations according to the across the country has selling the product for 143 naira per litre. Ogunjobi said efforts are ongoing to revamp and recommission other critical pipelines and depots across the country to further push down the prices of petroleum products for the benefit of consumers. Now, the federal government said two illegal mining companies have taken out minerals worth more than 100 billion naira in the past few years. The two firms are Solid Unit Limited and Geotest Nigeria Limited. The companies were shut down in Zurak Wase local government area of Plateau State last month. Now, due to illegal mining activities, the Minister of Mines and Steels Development, Kayode Fayemi, said the huge scale of illegal mining by the two companies is tantamount to economic terrorism. He added that government is determined to confront anyone or group that is out to sabotage the economy through illegal mining and other means. Now, there is a fresh anxiety among investors in Nigeria's stock market following a renewed move by companies to delist from the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Now, the NSE disclosed that two firms, Paints and Coating Manufacturers Nigeria Limited, or PLC, which got listed 7 years ago, and Avon Crown Caps and Containers Nigeria PLC, have applied to exit the exchange. According to investors, more firms may follow the route, since most of them are finding it highly challenging to meet the post-listing obligations. Analysts say some of the companies have realized that access to equities capital, which is the reason for listing, is not forthcoming due to investors' apathy amidst the current economic activities. 6 of the world's biggest banks have joined a project to create a new form of digital cash. The new currency, when launched next year, will help in clearing and settling financial transactions over blockchains. Beckley's credit to his Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce, HSBC, MUFG, and State Street have teamed up to work on the utility settlement coin, which was created by Switzerland UBS to make financial markets more efficient. According to the head of strategic investments and fintech innovation at UBSH, Yoder Jeffrey, the utility settlement coin aims to let financial groups buy securities such as bonds and equities without waiting for traditional money transfers to be completed. He said instead they would use digital coins that are directly convertible into cash at central banks, cutting the time, cost, and capital required in post-trade settlement and clearing. Now, there is no doubt that cybercrime is an image nightmare for Nigeria. The internet creates unlimited opportunities for commercial, social, and educational activities. But as we can see with cybercrimes, the net introduces its own peculiar risk. What is the menace cybercrimes poses to the society? The inconvenience or convenience associated with IT and the internet is now being exploited to serve criminal purposes. Cybercrime covers internet fraud, computer-assisted crime, which includes email scams, hacking, distribution of hostile software, viruses and worms, denials of several attacks or service attacks, theft of data, extortion, fraud and impersonation. Now, computer attacks can be generated by criminals from anywhere in the world and executed in other areas, irrespective of geographical location. Since the laws suffered by consumers and investors create serious credibility and image problems, many countries develop strategies for preventing and detecting and also containing the threats associated with cybercrimes. While it is acknowledged that greed is a major factor motivating most victims, what about the image created for many who never responded? Indeed. Well, a software consultant, Ido Wakinde, joins me in the studio now to look critically at all of this. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you,
and happy celebrations.
Thank you.
Well, it's alarming to my own reports now. The Senate said we've lost more than $400 million. That's to about 3,500 cyber crimes and attacks on the ICT space. What do you make of this? What is responsible for this level of attack?
Okay, so it's well, I don't want to trivialize it by saying it's unfortunate, but it's something that comes with, like you reported earlier, the convenience of the internet, the convenience that IT and the internet have provided us in modern times, have also given certain people with malicious intent opportunities to exploit other people. So that's the basis. However, even though cybercrime per se is a global problem, we've heard of foreign organizations, foreign countries being hacked, probably by other states, for election manipulation purposes, and so on and so forth. Even though this is a global problem, we notice that there are different levels of exploitation per country. Some countries are less exploited than others. We therefore should probably try to study and understand what those other countries who are less vulnerable, quote unquote, have implemented, and see if we can implement similar strategies. So that's on the general strategic level. In terms of specifics, if you ask me, from a business capitalist perspective, I will say that every problem presents an opportunity for someone to prosper. Okay, so I think that the government should throw two people at this. Okay, two groups of people: one, the business community, and two, the military community. So for the military, it's the purpose is to defend the integrity of the Nigerian state, so that there is no foreign manipulation in any of the correspondence that is going out, any of the vital assets or digital assets that we have, passports, all of those things that are stored electronically. For the business side, because this is a huge economic problem all over the world, anyone who can create viable, solid anti-cybercrime security solutions across the various types of solutions will make a lot of money. So if there is a way for the government to provide tax relief for such budding or ambitious Nigerian IT companies to go into that, do the research to go into that area and produce solutions, this can be a major, another export line for us to earn revenue, for us to earn forex. These are just my own personal opinions about how we can do this.
But indeed, when we talk of efforts, let's look at the security agencies now. They have a role to play in all of this.
Okay.
How far have they gone? I don't even think they are so enlightened. Are they really enlightened? Are they set to prepare to do this job?
Well, obviously, as of today, given the level of interactions that you and I have had with our own local security agencies, we know that they are not that, first of all, digitized, yet, and secondly, sophisticated enough to be able to defend and protect against such attacks as these. So take for instance, someone wants to hack into the police database of criminals. The first question you should ask is there a police database? The last time I was at a police station, I saw paper files being carried up and down. So fine. Obviously, we're not ready. Our security agencies need a little bit of upgrade. But with those upgrades should come a deliberate focus on protecting the digital assets. So whether it's the National Immigration Service that is protecting against immigration documents, or it's the police protecting against criminal and other records, or it's the SSS protecting against whatever records that have been protected, each one of them should, as they are creating electronic databases, should be mindful to create protections, to protect those assets.
You talked about opportunities created by this challenge which we face. But it brings me back to, many say talking about the local scam, not even local, it's international now, the internet frauds and all of that. Greed is one thing that comes in.
Okay.
Let's look at this greed of a thing and look at the opportunities there. Some take advantage of this greedy people and make their own money too.
Okay.
So how do we check this part of it?
Okay, so my position concerning the Yahoo trend, for as long as it has existed, is that it's a culture problem. So despite the fact that there are serious economic problems, serious economic challenges in many families in Nigeria, I will still say that it's inexcusable for any parent to condone for their child, their ward, their son or their daughter to come home with money that they cannot account for. Many of the Yahoo quote unquote people that are operating these scams are people that walk about in society freely, and they go out one day and they come back the next day with a lot of cash and buy cars and build houses, and everybody celebrates them. So for me, it's a societal problem. We need to learn to whistleblow and shame people, or at least recommend people for further investigation whose sources of money are not easy or clear for all to analyze. So when those things are not clear, please blow the whistle on them. That's my position.
Okay, we're going to take a break now and we'll be back with more on the show. We'll still be here when we come back. We'll still be looking at other issues surrounding cybercrime. It is really important that we check this. Stay with us. It's still Business Nigeria. Thank you for staying with us. We're looking at issues surrounding cybercrimes, and I have with me a software consultant, Idowu Akinde, who's been giving insight into issues surrounding this. Now, let's look at some of this, like the social media challenge. That's also something very, very important that we must look at. Identity theft, electronic fraud, data damage, alteration. We can go on and on. Do you even think there's any form of monitoring? Because people just go out of their way to do some things online and it's not monitored. It's just like a free for all. What do you think as an expert in the sector? Don't you think there should be some checks, and balances? Okay. So I like those words that you finished with, checks and balances, and I'll explain why I mentioned balance especially in a moment. So the thing with the internet that people need to get or understand fundamentally is that with the convenience of the internet comes a loss of privacy to a degree. So there is a very high likelihood that I can get someone's house address on the internet today via any of the various social networks. It's much more likely today than it was 10 years ago. Okay, because internet wasn't as widespread in Nigeria 10 years ago. So with more internet adoption, with more people coming to the internet, it's easier. It's easier to gather information about different areas of different people of people's lives. So people are giving information. That's what you give in exchange to these social networks, and then they use it to build their networks, and it looks good for you. So the challenge with instituting government-sponsored or government-backed monitoring initiatives is that government then is seen to be invading the privacy of individuals, which is what foreign governments all over the world have tried to, which is what people have protested against the foreign governments of the world snooping into the databases of the Facebooks of this world and the Twitters and all of these, major social networks. So that's the challenge. So, like I said, I like your word balance. If that balance can be struck between regulating the activities of people on social media, because if you think about it, with the ease with which criminals across all sectors, kidnappers, terrorists, and so on and so forth, can easily build a profile of anyone by just searching for that person and
get the name from here, get the last name from there, get the brother, sister, and so on and so forth from another network and build a profile of that person, something needs to be done. I see that in the near future, there may be a need for governments to regulate how people access and use information on the internet. However, it needs to be balanced with concerns around privacy. So things need to be put in place to be sure that government is not just spying on the citizens.
Indeed, even according to reports, even some government servers are under serious threat.
Yes.
So are there not laws, that should be enacted? I think there was one time the House was talking about a law, that, could check the misuse of all of these, ensure cyber crime, cyber space operators, function in accordance to the law. Are there no laws? Are we not supposed to enact laws?
Actually, given the Nigerian case, I'm aware to some extent, to a degree, that there are laws. Okay, for instance, I think in 2015, shortly after there was a huge, recorded number of cybercrime incidents, especially in Nigeria's banking sector. From 2015 till date, there's been a lot of upgrades across all the FSIs, all the financial sector institutes, all the companies in financial services. So I think that in 2015, I remember that in 2015 there was some law that was passed, some cybercrime law. However, the question is, how is it enforced? So I don't remember ever reading on the internet of a certain notorious Yahoo person or internet scammer being arrested, prosecuted, and jailed. So like every other law in Nigeria, the question is enforcement. So are they enforcing it? Has the orientation and awareness drilled down from the high level laws to the implementers, the enforcers on the road, the policemen and other law enforcement agencies? Do they even know that this is the law? There's the argument that some of them know and they use it to exploit young men and women on the roads when they stop them for checks. But even that, obviously, it looks like nobody's interested in enforcing the law. So I think that a lot of effort should be placed by the government towards enforcing the laws, not so much bringing up new laws. Enforcement is really, really, really very important. Now, what about local participation in this ICT space? If you remember the last time the minister was saying it's going to encourage local. How far have we gone? Are we really promoting local content? Maybe that would even help us house some of our data and information. If there is more, because maybe the infiltration and all of that too could be part of the problems we're having. Okay, so. At the risk of sounding over-sabi, I think that the right attention is not being focused or is not being placed in the right places, especially with Nigeria's broad ICT strategy. Okay, so it's good and it's encouraging and it's heartwarming for someone like me who's an ICT practitioner to hear that the government is promoting local content, and that's very good. But in terms of specifics, are there incentives, okay, for people to want to host their data, for instance, locally rather than offshore? So today, among many ICT professionals, you hear of people when they talk about hosting that they're mentioning the foreign names, I don't want to mention their names, the Amazons and so on and so forth. They're mentioning the big global players. If you want people to take their eyes off those big players and, start to think about keeping some of these monies within the economy, within the country to grow the local economy, then rather than attacking it from an enforcement perspective and saying banks must save all their data within local data centers, which is good, rather create incentives that you wouldn't have to tell them to save it locally. Make it such that if anybody sets up a hosting company locally, give them a 20% or a 30% tax break. That will force them to drop their prices, which will make any other company like myself or any of the banks to consider those local companies better than the foreign ones. So there are ways to make the environment more conducive you know, for the things that, for the behaviors you want to see. So if you want to see people hosting data locally, you want to see people participating and enjoying the fruits of local software investments, then make the environment more conducive, you know, for them. That's
I think we'll leave it at that now. Software consultant Idowu Akinde, thank you very much for your views.
Thank you very
much. Really looking at the cyber issues. It's really worrisome, and something that, yeah, I know it might not be able to eradicate it. We might not be able to eradicate it fully, but it should be reduced at least to the barest minimum, so that we could have safety at least in all ramifications. I must thank you again for joining us on Business Nigeria, you know, and the public holiday and all of that, and you're still here with us.
Thank you.
Well, that's it on the show. Crude oil prices first in the global market dropped further on Monday. That's after North Korea tested its nuclear weapon. Now, the London market, the Brent crude trades lower at $52 per barrel, down by 0.78%. For the OPEC basket, the Brent drops to $49 per barrel. Analysts say the uncertainty in the oil market has forced investors to pump money into the gold market. Well, that's our show for you today on Business Nigeria. Well, join us tomorrow as we'll be linking, as usual, live from the Nigerian stock market and also other insightful and detailed analysis. I am Tolu Ogunjobi. On behalf of the entire production crew, I thank you for watching. I leave you with the figures of the exchange rate as it stands today.